Hello everybody, this is Lonna Lamb. Welcome to my studio. Well, this is what we're going to paint today. Look at this beautiful piece. I have never painted dolphins before and done an underwater scene like this, so this was a learning experience for me and I thoroughly enjoyed every single bit of it. I think it turned out beautiful. Lots of fun creating this one, so I hope you guys are going to have a fun time with it as well. The video is a little bit longer since it was a learning process for me, but I edited it down as much as I could, speeding up through some sections that were repetitive. So hopefully you'll hang in there and watch the entire video. If you would like a packet for this, you can grab it at my website, lonnalamb.com. It includes a step-by-step written instructions, step-by-step color photos, a full line drawing and a full color photo of this design, as well as all the list of everything that I use to create this beautiful design. I'm going to be using Deco Art Americana acrylics on this, and if you're ready, let's grab our paints and supplies and let's get painting. Alrighty, our surface today is a round canvas, 10-inch round canvas. I've applied one coat of white paint on here with a damp sponge, and now I'm just going to lightly sand it. Make sure it feels fairly smooth to the touch. The next thing we want to do is find the center of this canvas here. So it is 10 inches across. And I'm going to mark the center here. And then I'm going to do it this direction as well. There's right here. So we've got a center point right here. Okay, I'm going to erase that back just a little bit, just so I can just see it. I need it to still be there, and I will paint over it, but I don't want it to be something that I have to worry about trying to cover up. All right, so we're going to take our compass and take it out to 4 inches on our compass. And we want a 1-inch banding border around this, so I'm going to set this down. Actually, I'm going to get my easel out because I think that will make putting this on so much easier. Alright, here we go. I'm going to set this point in the center and then drop this down. And I'm just going to turn my wheel and draw my circle. So we have a 1-inch banding circle on this, and so now we're ready to start adding some paint on here. So I've got some colors on my palette. Not really sure, you know, if I'm going to use them all or not. I've got open water, moody blue, teal mint, and crystal blue. So we're going to see how these look. I'm going to start with the crystal blue and put this mostly at the top. I'm going to try to stay within my circle, but you know, if it so happens that it doesn't work out, I am not going to stress about it. Alright, then I'm thinking I want the teal mint a little bit farther down, but maybe not. Let's go ahead and add it next. Some yeah, teal mint. Blend that up. Now we'll have to do this a couple of times. I'm going to really work that into the canvas so we don't see any of that white canvas coming through. A little bit more of this in here. It doesn't have to be like a straight line across there. Okay, and then I've got these two blues here. This one's a little bit of a blue, and this one's more of a dirty blue, which I love that color. So I'm going to go into the moody blue next. As you notice, I have not washed my brush one single time. Once this gets dry, I'm going to see how I want to adjust it, because I might want to add some white to some of these colors in here. but we will have to do 2 layers, so. And when I get to where it meets another color, I'm coming up on the very tip of my bristles here, so I can just gently blend that together without lifting the paint, because I'm going into wet paint and I don't want it to lift any of my previous color. Alright, I'm going to go into the Moody Blue. Love this color. And it's a little bit darker blue. And I can darken it up by adding maybe some black or some brown to it. Because these 2 colors now are looking very similar and I want them to look very different. So, in my second layer, I definitely will be doing some blending of colors. I want to keep more of these lighter colors less down. I've got them almost halfway down, and I don't want them to be quite halfway down. So I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to add a second layer in here. I'm going to put some white and some black out on my palette. Alright, that should be dry. Let's give it a second to cool. We don't want to apply our paint while this is wet. Okay. Alright, so I definitely want my colors to be lighter. So I'm going to take white and my base color, and I'm going to do an equal mix here. And I'm going to start up here with this color and not bring it down quite so far. I'm going to go into that teal mint without washing my brush, and of course that other color is going to blend with it, so it's going to make it lighter. Lifting some paint there, so I just went and wiped my brush so I wouldn't lift anymore. Okay, so we've got some nice light stuff going on there. I'm going to go back into my teal mint and mix some of that blue with it. I want to get a more neutral color in here. Maybe we'll do two or three of the mint to that next color of blue. Maybe just a tiny touch of white in there. So we can blend it out up here. Just very gently. I'm just gently, it probably sounds like I'm scrubbing hard, but I'm just very gently kind of scrubbing right there to blend that out. I want to make sure I get all the way up to that line. I don't want to see that line. I don't want any white on that edge at all. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go into this blue and add a little bit of white in it. So we'll do 2 blues and 1 white. Try and get a little bit lighter value of blue in here. Work it up into that other color so we can have a more gradual layering of color here. Let me put some, I don't really want to grab moisture if I don't have to, because that's going to make it more easy to lift my paint, but I do need to get a little more scrubbing capability in my brush, and the only way to do that is with a tiny little drop of moisture. Okay, now we're going to go into the dark color, and I'm going to start it just on its own and kind of scrub it into that other color. And now I'm going to add a little bit of black into it. And darken up that blue. And we want this to be down here. A little drop of water. I can't smooth that paint out without a little bit of water, not a lot. You get too much water, you're going to know it immediately because it is going to lift your paint. Okay, we can come back in and add our circle line once we get the center all completely painted. I just want to make sure I have all my white covered up here. Where I can just see the line in a couple places, so I want to make sure that it's all good. Okay, so we've got a nice underwater color going on there. So now this needs to get dry. So it's just a gradation of color. I do recommend that on your first layer you just use the straight colors. Don't mix them on the first. You don't really need to because they're underpainting. But when you do your second layers, that's when you want to add the white and do your mixes and stuff so that you can get those other values that you want to see within your painting there. All right, let's get this dry. Okay, I want to add some like kind of rays coming into the water. Just for a little bit of look. This is still in the background, so you know, it's going to push back once we add detail in here. So I'm going to take my crystal blue and some snow white, and I'll add 2 snow whites to that. Let's see if that's going to be, I don't think that's going to be light enough. I think I need white with just a touch of crystal blue, so we'll go that way. All right, so I'm going to load my brush and then remove the paint, a lot of the paint, onto a dry paper towel. I'm going to use the tips of the bristles and start out very lightly. As you use the paint out of your brush, you can start giving it a little bit of pressure, but always, always, always start with light pressure. So we're just going to start creating some rays coming down into the water. And these rays can come down as far as you want them to. This is very, very subtle in the background here. So every time I load my brush, I offload. And some of these we won't even see after we get in our main element here. I'm going to load. I'm going to tap on my paper towel to remove, and we can come back afterwards and brighten any of these that we want to see a little bit brighter in here. But right now we're just creating background stuff that we may or may not even see when we get this all done. Okay? All right, just a few little. Okay, I'm not going to do any more than that because I don't want to overdo it. You know, you get too much, you can come back in and, you know, wash over it with, you know, your main color that you have there. All right, so now we want to transfer on our line drawing for the center, and we also want to find the center point again and take our compass and redraw this line to make sure we know exactly where that line is. If you can still see your line, you don't have to do that, but I can only see my line in a few places, so I am definitely going to redraw my line to make sure that I got all of my underpainting to that line. So that's the next step. All right, so I'm going to take my ruler and mark my, I'm using a white chalk pencil now, something that will disappear with water. Okay, and I'm going to make my line here. All right, so we've got our little T area. So my compass, let me grab my compass. This time I'm going to take, well, let me lay it flat. I got to do this flat. Make sure it's still on 4 inches here. All right, put this in the center, put my pencil down, and then turn my wheel. Okay, so I've got my line back on there, and I'm not going to worry about erasing it because we're going to be painting over it. But I do need that so that I know where to paint the outside edge. Actually, before we add the line drawing on here, I want to do a little bit more into the background. So I'm going to take that filbert brush that we dry brushed on here with, and I'm going to take my open water and my black and make this really dark blue. So just mix a little bit of black in there until you've got a very dark blue. A very dark black blue, I guess. Alright, let me load the brush. And I'm going to create some little greenery stuff and plant stuff in the back here. Just tap some in. This is still all going to be background stuff. If you get it too dark, we can bring our color that we painted down here, kind of wash over it and push it back a little bit. But there is no like pattern to this. Just put some stuff in there. It's background stuff, and so we don't, you know, some of it we might see a little bit more forward, but it's mostly stuff that's in the background back here. You can be super light with some of it. So see, some of it I'm tapping in so lightly. So I'm not giving the brush hardly any pressure. I'm just creating the look that there's something back there. We don't know what it is, but there's something back there. Could also make it look like rock stuff going on back there. This should all kind of push back and, you know, create just a, you know, some more interest in the painting. A little bit more darker ones in through here. And then maybe just a few light stuff going on. Like I said, we probably won't, you know, it's just interest in the painting. You know, and you can put some like really super distant ones back there by wiping all the paint out of your brush and then just going in here and putting some, like, what's that? What's that back there? Oh, there's something back there, but we can't tell what it is. What is it? It's really way back in there. So now I'm just kind of scrubbing the brush and not creating shapes of any kinds. I'm just putting some dark color back there. You know, it's stuff back there. What is it? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, that looks pretty good. We can add more later if we want to. I do want to kind of add a few, like, maybe little fish in the background. So let me grab a small brush here. I'm going to take that same mix, that blue and black. We're just making a kind of gray-blue color, or blue-gray color, I guess. It's mostly a dark color. And then we can put some little fish back here. You know, they're swimming around. I don't know how many of them we'll see, but let's just put a few in here. If we see them, we see them. If we don't, not a big deal. We'll give a little highlight on them so we know that they are a fish. So just put them wherever you want. It's just laying down the brush and putting just a line. You're pressing and then lifting. Pressing and then lifting wherever wherever you want them to be. You could put your line drawing in here first if you want, but I feel like this gives it more interest, more realism, because this is going to push a lot of these fish back behind. So I'm just using a 2 round brush, just a little. That one's kind of going to go off of the center part, so it's going to be behind back there. We can put a couple up here. We're going to line up our line here. I'll go off camera and put my line drawing on, but we're going to line everything up. We want to make sure that our dolphins are entirely, their faces are entirely in the inside circle. So I'm going to move mine over just a little bit because this one's not quite in the center. Where's my line's way up here. That's kind of weird. All right, I'm going to move this down a little bit. I'm going to move it down and over, so that's going to push the face inside here and here. It's going to push part of the back body of this dolphin kind of winds around. So I can see my line there. I'm going to put that line on my line drawing. So I know when I transfer on my line, I am only going to transfer on that part of it. So I may have made my circle, outside circle, a little bit bigger when I was doing it. I may have pushed on this a little bit and made it bigger than 4. So it's not a problem. We just adjust our line drawing at that point. Okay. So then you just want to take a piece of tape. I cut a hole in my pattern here. And you're just going to take a piece of tape and tape it down right there so it doesn't move. Okay? So now you've got it on where you want it. You're going to slide your gray graphite under here and transfer on the dolphins. I'm going to get everything transferred on now. Okay, so now that I have my line drawing on, I can see where I put fish that I didn't need to put fish. So I'm going to make some more fish and put in here. It probably would be best if you put your line drawing on first. But I do want some more little fish in here. Mixing that blue and black together. And we'll put a few more up here. They're just little fishies. Don't get them too carried away. And then most of these are inside this dolphin, so let's put a few. Okay, that's a big one. A few there. And then, do I want to put more behind this little guy? I might put one over here. Remember, they're going at an angle across this, okay? So even though I put those there and now we don't need them there, it's okay. It's okay. All right, so let's go ahead and give those little fishies a little white dot for an eye. Teeny tiny. Just the ones that are outside the dolphins, not, I don't want you to do the ones that are inside it. We're going to be covering those up. You just never know. You know, when you're creating a design, I'm creating as I'm filming, so I got an idea of what I want to do, but things don't always work out. Okay, so now that I can see this as well, our dolphins are going to cover up a lot of that background stuff, so I'm going to bring some of the background stuff up here. So again, that was that same mix that we just used for the fish. I'm going to put it on my brush and then remove as much as I can. And we're just going to create some stuff in the distance back here. here. You know, you could make rock formations looking back here. It, you know, it doesn't have to be the stuff that I'm making, so this is all background stuff, so the stuff that the fish are swimming through. Put a little bit more down here. Kind of scumble it in there and give it a little bit of darkness down there. So there, we've created a little bit of stuff going on back here in the background. We don't know what it is. It's just something going on. Let's base coat in our dolphins, and I want to make a grayish color for them, a blue-gray. I'm not going to use that blue that I just used, which was open water. I think I will try the Moody Blue. And my black. And I'll get a little bit smaller brush here. We're going to paint in the underbelly of it a little bit lighter, and then the upper part darker, and then we'll come back and add colors and values and different reflections and things like that. So let's see how this, I think I'll add a little bit of that spa. I need a little bit of black in some of it. Okay, so I've got kind of a, there we are, a bluish gray here, mixing this color and black and a tiny little bit of the crystal blue. We've got kind of this bluish gray color. So we're going to start this color on our dolphins. I've never painted dolphins before, so this will definitely be a learning experience for me. Okay, a little bit through here. We're going to add some lighter colors in here. Down through here. Oops. On the edge of the body there. Okay, as you can see, we're just kind of very loosely placing this color, and it's probably a little bit darker than what I want it to be, so we will be lightening our next layer up. This is a very loose painting here, so I really didn't want that line to be right there. I'll just cover it up because I'm not sure why I drew it like that. Alright, so that's one of the fins off of the back of the dolphin tail, so we can only see one of them. And I'm going to put this at the top, and we'll put some loosely on the fin, and then on the whatever that is back there. Okay, and then on here, and then a little bit down here on this. So we're just getting placement shape here on stuff. Okay, we can kind of see where the two dolphins are now. So that is just some underpainting. I don't want you to be perfect. I don't want you to be exact. I just want you to very, very loosely place that color in there so that we are just finding out where the dolphins live. This is where they live, and we're definitely going to be brightening them up. I might add a little bit brighter blue into the mix here because I need the dolphins to be just a tad bit brighter. Not only brighter blue, but just brighter. But for now, we're going to work on this area down here. So I want some white. And we're just going to mix white and a little bit of black to make a very, very light gray. Just a tiny touch of black, maybe, if I can get some on my brush. And we're just going to make a very soft gray to put in here. And again, we're putting this in very loosely. Don't be precise with any of it, you know, just, I don't want water in our brush. Just put it on here. This is just placement, basically, for shape of our dolphin and, you know, the different areas on our dolphin, okay? That's kind of all we're doing right now. This is white with a little bit black in it. Just a scooch. Now we're just seeing where all of our areas are. Take my brush and kind of scrub it in and scrub it out. We don't want it to be too much black there. A little tiny bit more here on this guy, maybe not quite that much. I'm still being very messy with this paint, so and I gotta put some dark color on that fin there. We don't want really any specific lines here. We're going to I want to straighten up the underneath here. Alright, just a little scrubby-dubby. Trying to get those blue areas covered. Okay, this is just a loose kind of scrub it in there. I'm going to do a little bit of this other color that we put on there on the tip of this one here. Okay, while that area is drying, I want to put a color on the outside, and I think I'm going to do antique gold as my base color here. Now I'm going to give that a try and see if it's the color that I want. I don't want it to be overly dark. I still want to see my circles if I can. So we're going to make this look gold. So this is my more mid value color. I'll make sure I don't go over my line that I drew here. thin my paint down a little bit. It's a little bit on the thick side. Actually, I might attempt to make this more of a bronze color. I'm not sure I can get to that color or not, but I'm definitely going to give it a try. Okay, it'll take 2 coats to go all the way around. Alright, let's start adding some more colors on our dolphins here. Now I've got this kind of darkish type of gray blue. I think I might introduce a new color, this color right here, which is a bright blue. Not sure if it's going to be too bright, but maybe mixed with some of my other colors it will help a little bit. So I'm going to start with my Moody Blue. We used Moody Blue, a little bit of Spa Blue, and a little bit of black. I'm going to go into this bright blue here and add that in. And maybe just a touch of white. So our undercoating had black in it. This one, instead of black, I added a touch of white and a touch of bright blue. So let's see. That's pretty bright. Maybe just a touch too bright. A little bit more Moody Blue. And I am going to have to add just a touch of black in there. Ooh, okay, that was a lot of black. There we go. Got more of a bluish color here instead of so dark of a gray. So I will try and add some of this brighter blue maybe into the water somewhere. I'm unsure. I'm going to get my dolphins painted in and see. I don't want them to be too much of a contrast to the water itself. We are going to be putting a lot of shadows and highlights on here, so I'm going to put it where I put my other gray, my under color, which was mostly helping us cover up the watercolor. That's a much better color, I think, for the dolphins. And we can definitely add more gray tones to this. We're going to have some reflections, and you know, you could add bright colored fish around these dolphins. I kind of thought about doing that, you know, but I'm not really 100% sure that's where I want to go. I want to put a little bit of this color in through here. And a little bit out here on this fin. Okay, then we'll go to the little guy. I'll see if I can mix this same color. Touch of that, touch of that, touch of that, and a touch of that. One more blue here. Looks like 3 Moody Blues, and then everything else is just a touch. Let's see if I got the close to the same color. Needs a little bit more white in there. Maybe a touch more of the bright blue. Now this time I want to make sure I cover up those lines. So the baby is just slightly darker. So I might have dipped a little bit more into my black. But it's okay. Their tones don't have to be exactly the same. With this coat, I definitely want to cover up my graphite lines. You could go to a smaller brush in some of these tighter areas. A little bit out here on this fin, and then this one. So that guy's just a little bit darker shading there, but I think it'll be okay. I'm just going to very gently kind of dry brush some of this blue up on here. And maybe start a little bit here. This is mostly going to be white, but we're going to have some shading and stuff under here. So I'm just kind of starting the shadowy areas here with this blue, and we will come back and darken as we need to. Just using what paint is left in my brush. Get out to that line out there. I'll be adding some darker colors in here. This will be a very shadowy area here. Okay, I think that color looks pretty good on there. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to go in and erase graphite lines that I no longer need. And I'm going to decide if I want to put some of this brighter blue out in the water. Okay, I think I'm just making a very sheer wash of this really bright blue, and I mean it is super, super sheer. And I'm just going to put a little bit out here in the water, just in a few places. Just kind of move it around with my fingers. We won't see a whole lot of it, just a touch of that color in here. But I think I want to keep it mostly up here. And we can bring some up into our lighter colors and create another value of blue in there. It's so transparent. This color is transparent anyway, so it just makes a nice little brightness to the water, but not overly bright. You can make your water any color that you want it to be, but we're going to have some bright stuff on the top of our water up there, and some bubbles going up, so we can have a little bit of that blue in there. Down here we'll probably darken a little bit for that, but right now I'm going to erase some graphite lines. If I haven't gotten any paint on them, then I can erase them and get them out of the way. We still should be able to tell where all of our areas are. If I can't erase them, I'll have to make sure I go back over them with some paint and remove them. Make sure you erase away from your paint. We don't want to get that into our paint. I'm not going to erase the eye because we gotta paint that in yet. Okay. I think I got most of them that I can get off. And then we should be good to continue on here. Okay, let's put some more lightness on the chest, and we're going to take our white, and I'm going to mix just a touch of Moody Blue in with that, just to make it a little bit lighter. We want it to stay like a very light blue color to start out with. and then we'll that way when we put our highlights on here, we'll be able to see them. I'm just going to be kind of a little bit, you know, kind of rough around the eye here. And this is not pure white, but we're going to start getting more shape here now. Just a little bit of that lighter color going onto that fin right there. It's behind, so it doesn't have to have a lot. Okay, we're going to take this lighter color all the way up to this fin right here. A little bit of this here. Okay, let's go up to the little guy. He's going to be bright down here, or brighter. Remember, this is a white and blue mix, so if you're losing your blue in there, add a little bit into it. I know it looks like white as we're painting here, but he's just not going to have as much brightness on him. We'll put a little bit over here, but we'll have to shade this area to get it darker. We just want a little bit of light color to start with. I could go to a much smaller brush, I think, here. And then back here we'll have a little bit. This is going to be more shadowy as well, so we don't have to work too hard on that area. Alrighty, we've got our base colors in, except I'm going to adjust that. That's got a sharp edge there, so let me get a little, blend this out a little bit. And come back in and put that dark color back in there, but I don't want to see that hard line right there that I had. Okay, you can repeat this light color a couple of times to get it as opaque as you want, but we're going to be adding other colors on here, so okay. Alright, so let's start on working on some shading areas on our dolphins now. Okay, it takes me much longer to paint something when I have never painted it before, so we're going to see how this goes. Alright, I'm going to put a little bit of my open water back out on my palette. I don't know if I'm going to need it or not. Alright, we're going to start creating some dark values in here. So I'm going to take my black and my moody blue and make that dark blue gray color. And we're going to shade. I'll grab a little drop of water here. And we'll just go down to the tip of that. And then we're going to put some here. This is that black-blue mix. Just mix your colors till it looks like a very dark, like bluish black color. Okay. If you need a mop brush, you can mop that while it's still slightly wet. Okay. We want to put a little of this dark mix back here. Back here where the fin and the tail kind of separate, we want to put a little bit back here. And then we'll just kind of come down this edge here and put a little bit of shadowing in there. This is all shadow stuff here. I'm going to put a little bit here just so I can show you the separation of these two. But that's going to be a little bit lighter out there. And then I want some on this fin. And I definitely need more moisture in my brush here. I think for this I could have gone down to a little bit smaller brush. And I'm going to bring that into that shadow right there. Okay, let me mix a little bit more here. And I do want some here. I don't know if it needs to be quite this dark. Might be a little bit lower than what I want it to be. So I'm gonna grab a baby wipe and remove that. Let that dry because I got to come back to that now. Let's go down here to this fin because this fin is really, really dark on this edge. Dark on this edge most of the way up. Okay. Just kind of pat that up a little bit. This one, we're going to make a dark edge here. I'm just on the tippy toe of my brush. Put the shadow out a little bit away from that fin so it looks more like it's coming off of it. I want to add more blue. do my paint here and do a little bit underneath here. Bring it down this way. Just kind of let it fade away there. Maybe a little bit more fading. Add a little bit of a curve there. Okay, let's see, where else do we need some of this darker color? We need some coming from the eye here. We actually need some around the eye, but there was a line on the pattern that went across the nose, kind of like this. I might go down to just a slightly smaller brush now, because that one's a little bit bigger than what I would like to use here. You can dry brush all of these layers if you are a person that prefers to dry brush. Don't feel like you have to you know, I just like the kind of scumbling method of dry brush, you know, of adding some shadows in here. I just think it makes things look more real for me. Alright. This one, this fan over here. So we're just putting in our shadow areas here. And do a touch more black here. Maybe mostly black, because this really needs to stand out here. And right along this edge. Be darkening a lot of these places up. Okay, I want more of a blue, I don't know, a darker blue. So I think I might take my Moody blue and my bright blue and just the tiniest touches of black. I mean, teeny tiny little bit in there. I did about an equal mix of Moody and bright blue. And I'm going to put this color through here. This is getting us a subtle variance from the back to the stomach. Okay, and then on the baby one here, we want to do the same. This is just a well blended float, so it's got plenty of water and blended well. And I've got Moody blue, bright blue, and a teeny tiny touch of black. Blend it out with some water. Gotta have some water in there to get that light color. darker for there. So let me make sure I got all my light colors the way that I want them. I need that blue, but I need a tiny bit more black in it. Right here. A little bit of a kind of a shadow chest. A shadow on the chest area on this guy. Kind of always takes me a little bit longer to paint something I've never painted before. So okay, I want some of this darker color around the eye, and I've got to have just a touch more black in there. I know it looks pretty bad with all these shadowy areas in here, but hang in there, hang in there. We will get there. Well, hopefully we'll get there. I really don't know what I'm doing because I never painted a dolphin before, but I'm excited about this guy. A little bit brighter, I think. Add some more of that bright blue in there. And we want to create a little bit of a shadow area here. Okay, let's see. A little bit of, maybe just a touch more of black in my brush. Just a kiss of black in there. A little bit of darkness here. Okay, that's a lot of black. And I need a touch more black. Darker area right there. I'm going to do the bright blue and black. Maybe not put any moody blue in it. Go up on top here. This is bright blue and black, so just a little bit of black mixed in with that so we can get a little bit of a lighter shading color in here. Oh, I really hope this turns out looking like a dolphin when I'm done. Bright blue and that black. Just want some of these areas to be a little bit darker. I put that blue on earlier. I'm going to go over these areas that look like they're mostly dark gray and add some of this onto it so it can look more blue. This is bright blue and a little bit of black. Okay, let's see. Get a little bit more of that bright blue in my brush and mix it with that black color. This is really just placing colors in various places until you are happy with it. Probably a round brush would work good here. Just loosely go around that. Okay, let me see if I want to add more shadow anywhere else. I think I want to come beside this shadow and add some of that blue, that bright blue and black mix, because that's going to, it's mostly bright blue with just a touch of the black in it. And then we want that to stay dark, but I want to bring a little bit more of the blue into it. So it kind of looks like that comes out a little bit more, and it also blends it out to where it doesn't look quite so harsh. A little bit of black, a lot of bright blue, some water, and I'm going to do that to all my shadowy areas. So we started out with the black and the blue, and now I just did less black, more bright blue. I guess our first one was the moody blue, and this time we're doing the bright blue. So our highlights will definitely stand out more on here. patch of black, mostly bright blue. And I'm just going over my shading colors, my shading areas. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit more down here on this thing. Okay, and then a little bit through here. This already has kind of a bluish black tint to it, but we'll just do a little wash over it. We have a little bit of dark color in here. Probably less water on my brush there would be better. Okay, let's see where else I need to go here before we start adding some highlights. Highlights are going to make such a huge difference here. We'll put all those reflections coming off of the water down on them. I definitely want to clean up around this eye. Now you can add other fish swimming in the background. I may have already said that. You know, add some bright fish in here if you want some other colors going on this. I think for now I'm just going to keep it the dolphins, but I don't know. I might add some bright colored fish back there. I have not decided that yet. So for now, this is all of our shaded areas. So now we're going to get ready to start adding some highlights. I know they look pretty dirty and rough at this point, but we'll get to the highlights in a minute. I want to work on the eyes here. So I want to base in the eyes with black. So just find your shape and paint it in with black. Okay, I know it looks ginormous, but we're going to define that eye in just a second. I'm going to quickly dry them. Okay, and I'm going to put some of my teal mint out. And I'm going to take my teal mint and mix a little white in with it. I just want to give it some opacity. So just mix it until you feel like you have a good color on there. And we're going to put some where we think the bottom of the eye is. We can come back and fix up our lines with black if we get it too big. We want a little bit where like a lid would be, like an eyelid would be. See, I've got that too wide on the eye. It should be a little bit more thin like that. And so I'm going to take some of my black and thin that down a little bit. Okay, and we definitely want to repeat that. And this time I'm going to try and use just the straight teal Now you can use a detail brush on this if you want, and you can make your eyes whatever color you want. Okay, so we're getting kind of an eye color here. I'm going to touch this one up and make it just a little bit smaller. And then over here, I think I might make this one just a tiny bit thinner up here. Okay, that's looking pretty good. All right, next we want to make a little gray color. So with black and white. It's going to be kind of a light gray color. And we're going to put a little bit of this in the corner here. And over here we won't see as much, but we can put a tiny little bit in there. Just a little scoochy scooch. I might have to make that smaller, but I do want it to come down that way a little bit. Take my black and touch up. That's very watery black right there. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. While it's drying, I need to do the eye out here. I didn't get my color out there. So just a little. A little under the eye. I need more of that blue in my brush here. Okay, let's add our bright white highlight. I think for this, I might get my fine detail liner and some white. And we want a highlight in the very center, down here, and up here. In the very center, and then we're going to put a little dot of a highlight right there and right there. Okay, when we come and add all of our white highlights on our dolphins, we'll highlight around the eye at that time. Alright, so we are getting ready to work on highlights now on our dolphins. And yeah, I think the eyes look pretty good. I like that teal color in there, but you could go with bright blue. So, you know, whatever color you like for the eye will be just fine. I mean, they're not that noticeable, so we don't have to, you know, worry too much about the color. But I do need to take down this area here. Make that not quite so wide right there. That looks a little bit better. All right. Highlights are going to make all the difference on this. So you guys, we're going to start with some highlights. We're going to have some sharp highlights, some dry brushed highlights, and then all of the fine detail lines where it's coming down the water. Oh, one more thing I forgot to do here while we were painting all of our dark areas in was to paint the mouth line in. Mix all my blues together here. Be a little bit darker, I think. And then over here, Alright, that will help with that. Alright, so here we go. We're going to start with some highlights. Now the first thing that I want to do is add some highlights with a mix of Snow White and a tiny touch of our crystal blue. Just a tiny bit to take the white down from being pure white. That way when we add our bright white on here, it will stand out more. Now you can do this by floating or dry brushing, whatever you like to do. I will probably do a combination of the two. So I'm going to go down along here with some just floating. I mean, it is the tiniest little bits of that blue. I don't want your white to turn too blue. I just want it to be a subtle little little change. Here. Not quite so flat and blunt. We're going to put some highlight along this edge. I want this to be highlighted here. Brush. This one, the bristles aren't holding up as best as I would like. Okay, this is kind of dry brushy here, but you can get just a brush and kind of dry brush it in there if you want. I feel like this area needs to be down a little bit farther here, so I'm going to bring it down. Have just a little kiss of highlight here. Okay. A little bit here. I need more moisture in my brush. Let me work that in. My brush is just a tad worn. I'm going to see if I can get a better brush here. I got paint too far on my brush. Alright, so we want a little bit up here. This again is an area where you could dry brush if you want to. Through here. I don't have very much paint in my brush, so I'm not leaving a whole lot on my canvas. Definitely want some highlight up here. Here. I'm going to use a detail brush to do that highlight over there. Okay, this kind of blends out together right here where we can't really see a line. So I'll attempt to do that. I'm not sure it's gonna happen, but okay, let's see, where else do I want to create a highlight on here? Back here. On this tail. I'm not letting my highlights get too awful big. Although this one needs to be a little bit bigger. Because we're going to be coming in and adding all that water reflection on here. I do need a dry brushed highlight through here. Alrighty. Through here it's a little bit of a I'll detail that more once I am. Not sure this brush is holding up as well either. Alright, let's get a little bit of highlight in here. Put some in there, take the water edge, kind of soften it out. We'll be doing more to that. Some highlight in through here. Right now I'm just creating some soft highlights with my brush. A mix of a tiny bit of the crystal blue and white. This is more of a reflective highlight here, but we want to get it in before we add all the little detail lines in here. Kind of like we did over here, the dry brushing over here. We want to do that here. Put just a little bit over here. These are just kisses of highlight on here, okay? We'll be brightening all this up. Maybe I need to put some fresh paint out here. Maybe that's my problem. Might have to go back over the mouth there. Alright, I want a little bit of stuff, kind of dry brushy. Maybe brighten that. Okay, brighten that up a little bit, or a lot. This fin here needs a little bit. This one here. Okay, I'm just seeing how this first little layer is looking. A little bit up here. Just making sure I've got underneath highlights every place that I want them to be. Because our next highlight will be very specific. So I'm going back over a few places that I want it to be a little bit brighter underneath. And we add all these reflective lines on here. Alright, so I think that's it for our first kind of dry brushy type of highlight. I'm going to, in just a few places, I'm going to shade with, or highlight with a float of just white, but that's only going to be in a few places. The rest of it we're going to come back and do some detail type of lines on there, like the light coming up from above is reflecting on them. So we're almost done with the dolphins. So let's get ready to add our bright floats of highlights just in a few places where we need it. Okay, before we begin adding our brighter highlights, I want to reline my mouth, although I probably should have waited till after I did my little highlight underneath here. So you might want to wait till after you do your bright little highlight on here. Okay, so I'm going to float just a few bright highlights. I want here to be bright. This is straight white now. Okay, we want right there to be super bright. We want it to be a little bit brighter on the little guy, but it doesn't have to be as bright. Okay, this little area can be bright. We'll do just a kiss of brightness here and here. This is just with white. I want the chest to be just a little bit lighter. We're going to line the chest, I think, with some white. Okay, that's a lot of white. Try and blend that out a little bit because that was like in your face bright. I'm just going to go up to this very edge here. Okay, I've got to bring it up a little higher because my shadow is not quite correct there. I need to actually make that shadow a little bit wider right there. So that was our moody blue, our black, and some bright blue. That's all in the shadow there. There we go. That looks so much better. Okay. Alright. A couple more places I want to kiss just the straight white before we start adding some detail lines in here. Detail lines are really going to make all the difference. paint on both sides of my brush, so I had to wipe that off. That one side's got a wild hair, so let me flip over to the other side and see if I can not have a wild hair on my brush. I want it to be a little bit brighter through here. Dab a little bit there. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good for my bright areas. Okay. I still feel like this part of the mouth here is not quite right. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to start adding some reflections of the water from up above. So I want to keep a brush that is damp. I'll get a longer bristle brush here that can hold more water. And I want my detail liner. You want fresh white. Add a little bit of water to get it to inky consistency. Okay, and I'm going to take my damp brush and lay some water in here. And then I'm going to come in here and start adding some detail lines in here, and that water is going to help disperse some of this. So I don't want to do too big of an area at a time. I can take my damp brush and move it around a little bit. This will keep the lines looking a little bit more, you know, reflective instead of just lines on here. I'm going to try and work just in my wet areas here, and then I'll make another area wet. If my area starts drying a little bit, I want to put a little bit more moisture in there so that this can stay more soft. Some of these areas I want those lines to be a little bit lighter, so I'm going to come in with my finger and some more back through here. Soften that out. can do as little as much as you want. Let's move back here to the tail. Not too much water there. I want to make this a little bit brighter right here. And then I want to follow the chest line with a bright line. And lightly come down this fin. I'm going to outline this fin here a little bit. I want some sparkle dots. I want some above the eye. Put a few back here. These are little sparkle dots, and we can put some throughout. Put some right through here. And they could be like little bubbles on there, I don't know. Whatever you think they are. They're just tiny little dots. They can be sparkle dots, they can be little tiny sparkle dots. We're just using white here. You can go back and brighten some. Put a little bit of a highlight here. Take my damp brush and blend that out. Some more sparkle dots. think the little guy's looking pretty good. Get some little sparkly stuff back here. I'm going to touch that with my finger so it really diffuses down. I think the little guy's looking pretty good. We're going to move over to the mama. And I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush out because paint could be drying in it. And we're going to do the same thing to the mama. So really there's no right or wrong to how you put these on there. You just need to have thin lines. A little bit of water down first is going to help keep them soft, but you can also touch them back with your finger as you paint them to lightly soften them and to take a little bit of the paint away in case you feel like it's just getting, you know, too much. But you see I put a lot on this little guy, so we're going to move over to the mom, and the mom has a whole lot more going on through here. So first we're going to work on, okay, that's a lot of water, this area right here. Let me thin my paint down because it's starting to thicken back up. I want a good flow to my paint. Alright, so back here we're going to have some more more subtle like reflection, so I'm going to put it in and hopefully it's going to disperse a little bit with that water that I put in there, and then I'll just touch it with my finger and I'll make that softer in there so it's not super bright. Okay, while we're here we'll just go ahead and do this fin right here, and we'll do all of the line works first and then we'll come back and do the little dotting stuff like we did up there. Okay, that's good there. Okay. All right, there's no lines like this on this fin. There is just a little bit of a light line down that edge and down that edge. And we just kind of want to diffuse it a little bit. That might be just a little bit too bright right there. Just want it to be a super subtle thing. And this one down here is just a little like, it's almost like reflective highlight, like you would create a reflective highlight on something. Okay, we are going to line here. I'm going to put a line here of white, and then I'm just going to take the edge of my brush and just very gently soften that. Alrighty, let's start adding some lines on here. So I want to dampen. Okay, that's a lot of water there. I have my ceiling fan on, so I can only work a small area at a time. My paint needs to be also thinned down so it has a flowy consistency. paint on my brush. Because when I dampen, I do not want to be laying in white paint. That definitely needs to be diffused. I do need a line, a brighter line right through here. And on this fin. Okay, that one's bold and in your face. And we do want some of them to be bright. Like I said, you can do as little or as much of this as you would like. A little bit more water there. But it helps if you pre-dampen, not over-dampen. And it also helps if your paint is inky consistency. Use your finger to diffuse. Here, I'm going to come back and do a few more in there, I think. Okay, there's none on the underneath. While we have our white here, we'll do a little bit of highlight around this eye. Over the eye. I should pre-dampen that, because that would make it so much easier. Some more. And then we're going to dot. A couple over there, but we're going to dot almost this entire top of the dolphin, but not all of it, but a lot. And then we're going to put our dots. If some of your lines have started to fade, you might want to come back with a few brighter ones on top. Okay, then we're going to put those bright dots of highlight. I want a really bright one here, and here, and a few through here. These are just little brighter areas. Super bright up here. here. I'm just putting little dots and then taking my finger and dispersing them. Okay. Need more brightness through here. These are just little dots, so try not to make them too big or too messy. Neighbors getting their yard work done. Seems like every time I sit down to paint, they're having their yard done. I do want these really bright areas though. Okay, so along here we're going to have some bright stuff. And into here. Few more over here on the little guy. I was a little conservative with him because I wasn't sure. Okay. A few little sparkles here. Right here next to the eye. And just a little bit of something in there. And I think we're pretty good. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. I like those highlights on there, and that was all just done with white. Thin down white, damp brush so that you could do the dispersing part of it, and I think they look pretty good. Pretty good, well blended, and they're looking more realistic now. Okay, I wide angled out so you could see it a little bit better. Don't those dolphins look amazing? I know it felt like a job to get there, but we got there. Okay, I want to brighten up here where the light is coming into the water and create some more like reflective light going down in there. So I'm going to take, I kind of want to add a little yellow into the light, but I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. So I'm going to do my white and a little tiny bit of yellow. I mean, just a tiny bit of yellow. This, and then we'll do our bubbles, and then we'll finish the outside edge here. So I've got my white with a tiny little bit of my light yellow in here. I'm going to see if I even am going to like this. I really feel like it needs to be a brighter yellow than this pale yellow. I'm not sure I'm going to like this. So I want to put a little bit See here, we had our light coming down at an angle, so I'm going to go up to that edge and then just begin dry brushing this. This is white with a little bit of yellow. Remove some of the paint off of my brush onto my really wet area on my paper towel, which is going to put some water in here. Okay, and we're just going to get some stuff coming down in the water here. This is dry brushy, so I'm not sure how well it's translating on the camera. It doesn't look super yellow because I'm not using a ton. Okay, that's got a lot of yellow in it. I'll wipe my brush out so I can. I think I might have to go to my angle brush or my filbert brush that I used for my water the other day. I feel like I have a little bit more control here. I don't like the way that looks right there, so I'm going to scrub that out. Okay, that has a little bit more yellow in it, so you can really see that yellow in there now. So I'm just dry brush scrubbing. And this is creating our undertones for our bright highlight. So that was with our light yellow, which I think was baby duck, and our white. So just a little mixture of yellow and white in there. So that's going to get us the beginnings of our highlight, and now we're going to add our bright highlight on there. Okay, we want to make sure that's dry before we start adding our white in here. Okay, I'm going to use the same brush. I want to make sure I have all the moisture out of it, and I'm going to get some white. Load the white in my brush, and then offload it. And we're going to start adding some white highlights in here now. This is just dry brushing, the same we did with the yellow, and the same that we did with the our beginning highlights in the background there. Okay, we're going to bring some of these down. It's really bright up here. Okay, and now I'm just going to bring some that's coming down. Okay, and they can come all the way down to the dolphin if you want. I load my brush, then I offload, and okay. I feel like I need a little bit over here. Okay, I've drawn some in here. Might be way more than what I want. I think I will put a couple over here. I did put one here. Maybe I'll do, I don't know if I want two over there or not. We'll see. Not sure I want to paint those in or not, but I do want to push this stuff back a little bit farther, so I think real quick I will do that. Use my Moody Blue and some black. And I'm going to wash some of this around our guy here. You want them to look like they are right up next to the glass here. Or pretty close to it. I guess they wouldn't be right up next to it, but pretty close. This is very sheer wash of this color here. That brings them a little bit more forward, so I like that. Okay, so water drops. Now you can use a small round brush or a fine detail brush. I will probably use both. You do want some fresh white, and we will use probably maybe bright blue and black for our blue part in our bubbles. So I want you to get fresh paint of all three of those out. Black, bright blue, and white. Okay, now for our bubbles, there's going to be a couple of different kinds of bubbles here. So the first kind is just going to be all these teeny tiny little bubbles coming up and going everywhere. And then we'll put some bigger ones in here, but these are all little teeny tiny little drops of bubbles. Staying up on my tip as much as I can. I want bubbles coming from around these two. Quite a bunch of little teeny tiny little. Don't really want a tail on my bubble. You can do the dispersing method as well with these little bubbles by dampening and put tiny little dots in here. On some bigger bubbles now. Okay, so for these bubbles, I'm going to get a separate little round brush here. And I've drawn some bigger ones in here. And I want to put some white paint on one of my small round brushes and water on this one. And I'm going to go inside that bubble, and then I'm going to line the bottom of it. Okay, but I want to pre-dampen it first so it just doesn't make a solid line. The water will help it to disperse a little bit. And your bubbles do not have to be perfectly shaped. Just a little bit of white along the bottom of these. We might have to come back and repeat this to make it brighter. I'm not sure I had water in that one. See if I can do one without. Without pre-dampening. Still think it's going to have to be done more than once to get that little bit of brightness on those bigger bubbles. Okay, wherever you want a bigger bubble. Put as many as you want in here. It doesn't matter. I think we're looking pretty good here. I think I want to try and get one up here. We'll see if that's going to show up or not. It looks like I drew one here. Okay, that's a lot of bubbles. We're gonna go with that. So I didn't really need the second one. Okay, so now I want to put some blue. And I might need more of my background blue. Let's see what color I want to use. Probably my Moody blue. Let me put some of that out here. So I'm going to take my Moody blue and the bright blue and mix them together. And then the top of my circles are going to get this color. I kind of want to leave it open in the center if I can, but just line the top. This is just to get your shape of your bubble. I might have to add a little black in there because I'm not seeing the tops. Wash of this bright blue, and that's going to kind of go in the center of these. So we lined the top with the dark color and the bottom with the white. We don't want to cover up our white doing this, so try not to. We're going to come back and put a bright highlight on the top, so if we need to, we can put that white back at the bottom of our bubbles. So I'm putting just a wash of this bright blue in there. Okay. Okay. If you lost too much of your white on the bottom, you can go back and add that in. We want to add a little bit of a tiny little dot of white on the top of these. Some of mine I might have to go back in and redo my white. We're going to have light coming in and light going out, so it's coming in at the top, going out at the bottom. I need to definitely Put some white on that one. This is just a tiny little dot of white. Okay. I'm going to do a couple of these, redo the white edge. Okay, that's kind of bright. If your bubbles kind of, I don't know, if the color, oh goodness, if the color got a color you don't like, go in and wash the center of them with some bright blue or some moody blue, whatever colors you have in the background. Just a light little wash of it, and that should take care of it. Alright, I think that's good enough. Alright, that finishes the bubbles. Super fun. Now you can go back in here if you feel like you need more of the tiny little bubbles and add some of more of those in if you feel like you need them. I think mine looks pretty good, except over here I feel like it's creating a stark line, so I might put just a few more in here. Put a couple around these little bubbles out here so that they're not, you know, like by themselves. And maybe a couple down here. And other than that, I think the bubbles look good. Okay. Now, if you want the bubbles to push farther away from the fish, you can do like we did down here and shade them, and that'll push them a little bit farther away, but I think it looks pretty good. I want to shade on the inside of our circle now, and then after I get that done, I'll go off camera and put my second coat on here so we can finish out the banding around this window. Alright, we're going to use that dark blue color that we made with the blue and the black. Oh, get my fresh black here. It's a lot of black. And I'm going to blend it into my brush well with some water to make it a sheer color. I don't want it to take over, I just want it to push everything back. It needs a little more black in it. I think I might have to go to a more firmer bristled brush here. Okay, I've got white in my brush. I'm going to get a different brush. Take that off because I don't want white in my paint. So I'm going to go somewhere where I haven't blended white paint. And blend these two colors. I really want to work that into my brush, so I'm wiping my brush off to remove the paint that's in there so I can just come back here and blend a more sheer color into my brush. Okay, so up here I think I want to get a little bit lighter, so a little bit more of the blue in my brush, that moody blue color. Okay, don't want to get out on my yellow. I'm going to go across my white. Try and get that. I got paint too far over on my brush, so it's leaving a cast shadow there. Try that again. There we go. Go back to my darker mix here as I come down this edge. Cast shadow right through there. Try and wipe that off. That's what happens if you get your paint too far over in your brush, or too much of it blends in with your water on the water side of your brush. You'll get that cast shadow. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, I'm going to go off camera and get my second coat on here. Okay, don't those dolphins look amazing? I absolutely love them. I love when I can teach myself something new. It makes me feel good. Okay, so we're going to work on this out here and try and make it look like it's gold or brass kind of looking, maybe aged. We'll see if we can't give it a little bit of patina to it or not. Not really sure. So I've got my black, dark chocolate, our base color of antique gold, baby duck, bright yellow, and white on my palette. I don't know what I'm going to use here. I also will put out probably some teal mint that I can use later for some patina on here. I think that will give it a nice patina. We shall see. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is take my dark chocolate, and I am going to create all of the beginnings of my shadows on here. Really work that into my brush so I can get a nice soft float. We're going to go around the entire outside of this circle and the inside of this circle and around every one of these circles. So it'll take us a little bit. So you want to make sure that you have a nice, soft, well-blended float on your brush, because this is going to make your work so much easier. So keep water on your palette. Load as frequently as you need to. And don't worry about perfection here. We're just getting our first layer in here. Got all my circles done around, but I want to go and make the edge a little bit wider in between these. Just a little bit. Grab my mop brush. Gonna soften that just a touch. We're going to begin by dry brushing down through the centers here to create the high part of this, almost make it look domed. So you're going to want a dry paper towel, a dry, some kind of stiff or just worn out brush. It doesn't have to be any brush in particular. You just want it, you don't care how abusive you can be to it, but we're going to use it dry. Load my brush and then I offload. I'm starting with the baby duck, and we're going to start dry brushing in between our bolt areas. Some bolts are closer to each other than others, so you know, it's not a perfect piece by any means. This is our first layer here. I start out light when I reload my brush because I never know how much is going to come off, and I don't want to put anything super bold and stark on there. So I'm going to go back around because I didn't have much paint in my brush when I first started, and try and get all these areas to be similar. Okay, we're starting our high areas there. I also want to do this to the bolts as well. Again, you want to use some kind of scruffy type brush, but a smaller one that will fit into the area here. And we're just going to kind of dry brush onto them. These little brushes don't hold much paint. Okay, that one's a little stark, but we will make it work. You can definitely tell when you run out of paint, so just get a little bit more, and then lightly. I didn't remove enough there, so a little bit of a harsh put down. I just want you to use a brush that is completely, you know, kind of worn out. Those are going to be the best brushes for dry brushing. And if you're like me, you have a lot of them. Okay, so we're getting our bolts with a raised look. Super, super cool. Okay, we don't want to wash these brushes in between doing our layers. So I'm going to go back into that yellow and add some white to it. And make a light color. I have a lot in my brush here. I might be able to pick up paint as I need it from right there. Okay, we're going to do a brighter area in through here. I might have to go to a smaller brush and on my next pass to make sure that this stays narrow, because we're getting higher and we don't really want to cover up our previous color. Okay, take my small brush and do all my bolts. More in the center. This is the baby duck in the white color. Probably too, well, I tried to mix it equal, but I might have a little bit more white in here than I have baby duck, because we don't want to go up in value too quickly. Okay, so that is our second pass on there. All right, I'm going to wipe my brush out. I'm going to stay with this small one because I want this next highlight to be a smaller highlight, but I want to go with just white. So I don't want a lot of that yellow in my brush, so I'm going to try and clean it out with white paint. Okay, that's probably good enough. Load my brush, offload it, and we're going to start in these middle sections again. More in the center. This brush is just about worn out. I should really get a different brush, but I'm going to stick with this one. Trying to stay right in the very center here. This is white, but I'm sure it's still got a little bit of yellow in the brush. Load, offload, start out lightly. We do have another shading that we have to do on here, as well as some patina. Forgot where I left off here. Okay, I don't know if I've been all the way, or this looks like where I started, so we'll go to there, and then we want brighter. I'm just going to tap in the center of my bolts here. I might have to come back and repeat some of this highlight in the center of these bolts, because I should have shaded on them before we started adding all these highlights on here. Okay, we can rinse these out for now. I'm going to use a different, smaller, scruffy brush. I'm done with my bigger one, so I'm going to rinse those out. And I want to do a shading around the inside edges of the bolts with that dark chocolate color. I'm going to try this brush. I don't know if it's going to do very good. Forgot which one I was on. Okay. I think I'm going to have to use a different brush. Alright, so I'm just going to do one more because this is going to be repetitive. And it will take me a minute. We're just going to go inside on these with that dark chocolate. We went outside on them, now we're doing inside, and we'll darken on the outside part here in a little bit just to make them more raised. I don't want a super hard line here. I want this to be more soft. Okay, I think what I might need to do is make this wider out here. Yeah, that looks better. So instead of going on top, we're going to go outside of them and just widen that float. Give it more of a shadow to make the bolt look more bigger. Try and stay off of the top. Boy, I really chopped that one up, didn't I? Try to keep it somewhat round if you can. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go a wider but I'm using a smaller brush, but I'm going to go out wider like we did on those other, okay, that was a ton of paint there. Like we did on the outside and inside edge, we came back in and made a wider float. So that's what I want to do here. I just want to make it wider around these bolts. So when we do the second time that we go around the outside edge and the inside edge, we'll go a second time around the outside of the bolts. And each time on these edges and around the bolts will become wider. Okay. Let's add a little bit of a brighter highlight on here and some highlight details. So in the center of my bolts, I just want to put a dot. We're going to add a little bit more to those bolts, but for now we're just going to add this dot. Okay, and I also want to add a little bit brighter in between, so I'm just going to use my round brush and dry brush through here. Just straight white. Very loosely. I'm not laying my brush down hard at all. I'm just letting the tip of my brush just skim across this. Okay. And then on our bolts, we're going to add a little highlight here and here. Just going to do one side, then the other. It's okay if they're not, you know, the same. Okay, any of them that you want to repeat because that white is going to fade down in there. You can do that too. I think a little bit more on a couple of these in the center, and then we're going to add some patina on here. And I think we'll be done. Okay, let's add a little bit of patina onto this. Okay, I want to add some patina on here and then see if I need to darken inside my circle or not. Right now I'm thinking that I need to, but I don't know. So I want to take some of the, what do I got here? Teal mint color. You can use one of the blue colors that we used in here. And I'm just going to wash some of this color in a few places, maybe by our bolts or even on our bolts. You know, just give it some patina. You can dirty this color up if you want to. I don't know if I will like it with a little bit of dark chocolate. I mean, just a touch of dark chocolate. Yeah, I think the touch of dark chocolate is needed to dirty up that, make it not quite so bright. It will look more aged then. So your teal mint and just a touch of dark chocolate. Get a little bit of patina here and there, wherever you want it. goes this direction. So I'm going to see how I like my patina, if I want to add a little bit more. You might want to go back and brighten a highlight after you do this. All right, one more place, I think. A little bit more green. Want some there, and just want to see if my eye flows around this nicely. Okay, I'm thinking that looks pretty good. I like it. Alright, so the inside of the window, you know, this is going to be a personal preference here. I personally feel like it needs to be a little bit darker. And that was the black and the moody blue at the bottom. A little bit more black in there. And I have to decide if I want to make a glare on this or not. Wipe my brush out and pick up just a little bit of the moody blue. Okay. I like that much better with that little bit more of a darker color. Down in here, I kind of feel like that could be washed out a little bit more. Not quite so bright. Okay, let me determine if I want any reflection on that glass. I'm thinking right now I do not. Okay, what I decided that I needed was a little bit of highlight on closer to the glass part. Mostly down here at the bottom. And maybe a little bit up this edge. Now let's see, I might do a kiss of a highlight. Oops, that one kind of got wild and crazy. That off. No, I don't like that. So off it comes. Okay, I like it at the bottom. So I'm going to keep it just at the bottom, maybe a little bit wider. Kind of dry brushy. Okay, yeah, I think that'll do it. I think that'll do it. I'm gonna brighten a little bit. I'm so undecided if I want this highlight to be all the way around. I like it at the bottom. I like it that it's away from the edge. This one's kind of flat there. Right here, I need to take that off. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Again, just any place that you feel like a highlight needs to be intensified, brightened up, perked up, then be sure and do that, because you know your highlights really make all the difference. Like some of these on my bolts I actually painted over. I think that is going to finish this piece. I absolutely love it. Love, 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 love it. You know, you never know what you can accomplish until you sit down and try. So look what we accomplished today. Gorgeous, stunning, one of my all-time favorites, you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me, for painting with me. I hope you have enjoyed this one. Please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Please comment. And please share. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.